How do you sort out the so-called jargon from real-world practices that work? Do the members of your organization find some business or technology advice utterly confusing? Welcome to Real Talk with Sam Holcman. In this program, we set the record straight, and in terms that business people and technology people can understand. Now, here is your host, Sam Holcman.
Welcome to this edition of Real Talk. I'm Sam Holcman. Thanks for joining me. The topic for this particular broadcast is the following. Enterprise architecture or business architecture certification planned obsolescence. The impact of new certification releases. Planned obsolescence in enterprise architecture or business architecture certification really takes on a unique and often contentious form. When certifying bodies release a new version of a credential, effectively rendering previous versions less valuable or even obsolete, despite earlier assurances of permanence or lifetime validity. This scenario can have significant repercussions on certified professionals and organizations alike. One indicator of this phenomena is a certification that is attached to a named and indicated certification version number. How does planned obsolescence manifest itself through certification releases? Well, many certifications of enterprise architecture or business architecture have historically offered lifetime, in quotes, validity or no explicit expiration date. However, when a new version of the certification is launched, the certifying authority may say, well, we updated the syllabus and exam requirements to align with our latest release. We're now mandating that new certifications or renewals must be based on this updated version. And you know what? We're going to gradually phase out public recognition or support of the previous certifications, even though we initially marketed it as permanent. This can occur even when the underlying principles remain largely unchanged, where the core remains stable, but claimed enhancements and guidance were added. Claimed enhancements and guidance. While individuals already certified under the previous version that was maintained and officially certified, the new syllabus became mandatory for all future certifications and recertifications. Over time, this can create a perception that older version certifications were less relevant, especially as employers and clients begin to expect the latest version. Well, what's the implication to professionals? 1. Diminished market value. Even if a certification is still technically valid, its perceived value may decline as hiring managers and clients shift focus to the latest version. 2. There's a pressure to recertify. Professionals may feel compelled to pursue the updated certification to maintain competitiveness despite the previous version having no expiry. Number 3. Unexpected costs. Recertification often involves exam fees, training costs, time investment, which can be substantial for architects, especially since the version numbers keep changing. What's the implication to organizations? There isn't yet, compliance and skill gaps. Organizations may find that the staff certified in older versions are not aligned with the latest believed industry approaches, creating pressure to upskill or recertify. Certification tracking complexities. Let's look at the Human Resource Department for a moment. The Human Resource and Compliance teams must track which version of a certification a staff holds, increasing administrative overhead and the belief that additional value can be provided by the newer versions. And what happens to those individuals that have previous certifications? How does that affect their career? How are they valued? What's the difference between certification 1.1 and 1.2. And of course, technology and process alignment. Organizations must ensure that their enterprise architecture or business architecture practices within their organizations and the certifications that underpin them remain current to avoid falling behind or experience FOMO, F-O-M-O. And what is that? Just fear of missing out. Why do certifying bodies pursue this approach? This is uncomfortable. Number one, revenue generation. New certification releases and recertification requirements create recurring revenue streams for training providers and certifying organizations. What seems to be, in quotes, a good deal, unquote, initially, turns out to be a continuous revenue stream for the training organizations, releasing organizations, and certifying bodies. They think it ensures relevancy. Certifying bodies argue that updating certifications ensures professionals remain current and effective. Now, here's what we need to understand. If this is the case, what was missing in the previous certification, and what was the effect of those missing elements on those that were dependent on that specific certification? And of course, market differentiation. Updated credentials help professionals' organizations signal their commitment to the latest believed practices. What we need to do is balance innovation and stability. The release of new certification versions frustrates professionals who have invested in credentials that were marketed as permanent. The challenge for certifying bodies is to strike a balance between keeping certifications relevant and honoring previous commitments to permanence or lifetime validity. In conclusion, enterprise architecture and business architecture is in its infancy. Certifications with planned obsolescence, driven by new releases and version numbers, is something that professionals and organizations must navigate prior to investing in a specific certification or certifying body. It introduces uncertainty, additional costs, questions of professionalism, and frustration for those who expected their credentials to remain invalid, and the underlying skills that they received to be valid for an indefinite period of time, because that's what was stated. As the field continues to evolve, greater transparency and clear communications from the training organizations, certifying bodies, and others who are doing this right now will be critical to maintaining trust and supporting the professional development of real enterprise architects and real business architects. As a closing note, the Enterprise Architecture Center of Excellence, EACOE, and the Business Architecture Center of Excellence, BACOE, do not describe to certification planned obsolescence. Ladies and gentlemen, caveat emptor. Let the buyer beware.
Thank you for tuning in to Real Talk. Be sure to join your host, Sam Holcman, again for another edition of our program. We'll have more real topics of discussion then.